We often focus on ancient lands that have a rich and long history. However, we do not focus on those lands that sort of had a late start in life. Scotland was one of those lands, so today we will be discussing the mysterious lands of the Scots. This is the ancient history of Scotland. Whilst most of the lands were being occupied with humans migrating and hunting, Scotland wasn't. Throughout most of the Ice Age, it was pretty much uninhabitable. Whilst the Neanderthals were able to briefly live in the south of Britain, Scotland, with its difficult terrain and high mountains, just made it too much of a challenge to set up shop in. As the climate gradually improved, hunter-gatherers managed to finally wander into the strange, mountainous region of Britain. The Neolithic Age began in the mid-3000 BCs, as hunter-gatherers throughout Europe began to settle down and farm. Rather than develop smart mud bricks like in the East, the early Scots simply built houses out of large rocks. This was most apparent on the islands of Orkney, where the oldest freestone house in Europe is situated. As with everywhere else in Europe, the Scottish began building stone circles, as well as moving towards building hill forts. As the Bronze Age came around, people in Scotland began to build circular houses. Some of these circular houses were even built on artificial islands, usually built in the middle of one of Scotland's many lochs. By the time of the early Iron Age, these circular houses were gradually being replaced by the more advanced roundhouse, a substantial circular building with dry stone construction. This was because Britain, along with pretty much all of Europe, became increasingly influenced by the Celts, who through trade and warfare had migrated from their homelands in Switzerland, bringing their culture and lifestyle with them. By 400 BC, more and more roundhouses began to be built, largely due to this Celtic influence. It was during this time that the Scots built over 1,000 hill forts, a sign that the Scots were not exactly friendly towards each other. This is pretty much echoed throughout all of Britain, as various hill forts would raid against each other to steal supplies. This led to a highly developed and sophisticated defensive structure that included ditches and a palisade, encompassing the summit of the fort. By 325 BC, Scotland made it onto the map of the ancient world, when a Greek navigator from the colony of Massilia made a trip around the Isles of Albion or Britain. By 79 AD, the Romans had at least a vague understanding of the landscape of Scotland, and indeed most of Britain. The Romans knew of at least 18 tribes in Scotland, with one of the largest being that of the Caledonii. The Romans later named the region after this tribe, dubbing the region as Caledonia. When the Romans invaded in 43 AD, they conquered much of the southern part of Britain. By the 70s, the Roman governors had begun to make great strides in conquering the north, advancing as far as the River Taus, assumed to be the River Tay. By the 80s AD, the Caledonians had united in a loose confederacy against the Romans, resulting in a climactic clash at the Battle of Mongrapius. Although the Romans called the battle a victory and later claimed they had subdued every tribe in Britain as a result, in reality the Romans ran back towards their fortifications after the battle. This resulted in the Romans eventually deciding to draw a line in the land between themselves and the Caledonians, in the form of a continuous wall called Hadrian's Wall. Around 141 AD, the Romans seem to have suddenly decided to try again. Invading Caledonia, the Romans advanced a little bit further than Hadrian's Wall, before deciding to build another wall and then return to Hadrian with their tails between their legs. 4 Roman invasions would occur over the next few decades, however, each time they retreated to the safety of Hadrian's Wall. As Rome gradually withered away, the Hadrian's Wall became the scene of many battles, specifically between them and a new tribe called the Picts. There is very little information on the Picts of this time, other than they came to become the hegemonic power in Caledonia as the Romans retreated from Britain in the 5th century. When the Romans left, they had made quite an impact on the land they had controlled, but in terms of Scotland, not so much. Indeed, the most influence the Romans seem to have had on the Scots was the building of a massive wall, separating them from the rest of Britain. What the Romans did do, however, in failing to conquer Scotland was contain the last remnants of Celtic culture in Europe. Thus, rather than destroying the culture as they had intended, they had in fact preserved it. Thank you for watching and listening to our videos. Be sure to like, comment and subscribe if you've enjoyed. All sources are listed and linked in the description below. I've been the Ancient History Guy, and as always, I'll be seeing you later.